In this lesson, we'll create the basic block form of our customized family. So let's get to modeling. Okay, so I'm still here in my front view. I'm going to make a quick adjustment before we proceed here. Let me drag this line all the way across here. That way I know exactly what's going on. All these reference planes can make things a little bit confusing. Okay, so what we need to do now is actually start creating the basic block form. And the best way to do that is to use extrusions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to create, and you see we have a number of tools here in the forms we can work with. We're concerned with the extrusion tool. And just really quick before we create an extrusion, let's add some dimensions. That will help ensure that we don't make any extra mistakes. So I know that I want this section to be 3 feet, and I want this second section here to be 2 feet. And everything else following that will actually go 1 foot. So I really don't need to set those dimensions. Okay, so now let's create our extrusion. So we'll go to create, extrusion, and let's set how deep this is going to be. So we know that our depth is 1 foot 6 inches, and our wood's going to be about 1 inch thick. So we know that that back piece of wood on the back side of our casework here is going to be about 1 inch thick as well. So we'll change this thickness to 1 foot 5 inches. That will leave us with 1 inch thickness for the very, very back. And we really don't need an offset, but we're ready to start modeling out our extrusion. So we'll start with our first part here. So I'm going to simply use my rectangle tool, and now that I have my reference planes in place, all I'm going to do is trace what we've already started creating here. So you're going to want to do this one at a time. That way you're not creating a bunch of forms thinking that you can hit your green check mark button and it's all done at once. You'll actually confuse Revit because you'll have some overlapping lines. So it's good to do these in sections. And that's kind of why I broke everything up with my reference planes. So I have my first section done, green check mark, and let's go to 3D view to see how this ended up. Actually, let's go to plan view. We'll get a better view of that. So we can see as we're placing these into our model here, they are attaching to the workplace or the work plane we assigned, but all we need to do is a quick click and a drag to get it to its correct position here. So I'm going to click this guy and drag into here. And again, we want to have that 1 inch offset, so I'm going to make sure this is offset by roughly 1 inch. And we'll double check that by creating another reference plane. So we'll create reference plane, and we'll do an offset of 1 inch in the back. That way I know for sure every time we make this small adjustment, I'm exactly where we need to be. So you can tell we're just off just a bit. So now we have a nice thickness of 1 inch on the back. So I can go now to my 3D view, and you can see we have a form in place. And we could keep the process going now. We'll go back to our front view, and we know everything we do from now on we'll have to place and maybe do a minor adjustment to. So let's go with our second section here. Second section will be this 2 foot section, and it'll be offset from the ground about 6 inches. So again, create, extrusion. We'll go with my rectangle, and we're going to go with this section now. Perfect. Check mark. Let's go to 3D view. Yep, we're definitely going to have to make a quick adjustment. Go to reference plane, and we're simply going to click and drag from this point on. All right, so let's go back to front view again here. And the reason I like to do it in front view and not in plan view is just because of the way this thing is designed. You'll see here in this next section. I have a small area here, which is for storage, and just below that, it's actually resting on a larger area. So if we were to do this in plan view, we'd really have to think out exactly where the bottom constraints are, where the top constraints are. So I find doing it face on works perfect. It takes out some of the extra thinking I got to do. So this is actually where the stepping design starts. So again, we'll create, extrusion, rectangle, and I'm going to create my first part on the second section. And we're going to make that adjustment to him as well. Simply clicking and dragging. And we'll go back to our front view again. Now, we know that this smaller piece actually rests on a larger piece, and that larger piece is offset 1 foot from the ground. So, create, extrusion, we'll go just below that, rectangle, and 1 foot. So now we can actually go on to the next smaller section that'll actually be floating or resting on top of that section just below it. So again, we're going to be using a lot of rectangles and extrusions for this method here. So again, I'm going to go here. We're going to create our next small storage area using the rectangle. And remember, we have a larger piece that sits just below that. And this is exactly why you want to do a section at a time. You'll get this little warning. So we'll Control Z, get rid of that one. And I'm going to finish that section first. Let's jump to our floor plan view, make any adjustments we need to make real quick by clicking and dragging. Just like that, very easy. Oh, this one didn't seem to catch. There we go. All right, so we'll jump back to the front, and we're just about done with our basic block form. We just have our largest section below this one, and then the rest is just a real simple steps going down. So again, create, extrusion with this rectangle, and this one's going to rest just below that one. And I'm going to try to maintain that 6-inch spacing, or in increments of 6 inches, down here on the bottom. Gives it that nice even look. Got my section created, green check mark. Go back to the floor plan view of this model. Quick adjustment. Perfect. And let's finish out that very end. I'm going to go to the front. Create, extrusion, and rectangle. And we have just a couple more to do here. The rest of these are actually going to be pretty easy. This one will come down. It'll line up here. I'll green check mark this one. And the rest of these we'll just simply put them in now. We'll make the change in just a moment here. So we'll go with the rectangle. Perfect. And we'll green check mark that, and we'll finalize this with one last extrusion here. And let's jump to our floor plan view, and let's make any adjustments we need to make really quick here. So clicking and dragging, using my drag tools, drag keys here. Perfect. So we've now got the basic block form of our design here. And at this point is really when I like to switch up how my graphics are displayed. So I'm going to go down here and change my graphic display options, and I'm going to go to consistent color. Now as I begin modeling and I'm working with all these reference planes, it makes it really easy to differentiate between all the line work that's going on. So you can see how easy it looks here in this 3D view, or when I jump to my floor plan view, we'll change it there as well. Consistent colors. Let's move this dimension here. I'm going to click on this dimension and click the move button. This is one of our parameters. You got to move them just a little bit differently. We definitely don't want to get rid of that. All right. And let's see how it looks in the front view. Make sure we need to see. We could definitely stand changing that as well. We'll change that to consistent colors. And now, from here on out, we'll start modeling some of the details. And with it being in this consistent color view or shaded view, it makes it a lot easier to see what's going on with our line work. And then in the next lesson, we'll actually start creating some of the voids and some of the more detailed elements associated with this custom family.